Hey, good afternoon. George Cavaligos for HFT Bonds. A couple things I want to point out here today. Again, last night the market gapped higher in the treasuries, equities gapped lower, and we saw minor follow through. Really, the high in the bonds last night was 15. I think intraday today, early this morning, we traded up to 23. I think the 10-year high was 15. We traded up to 18 today, and then the sell pressure took over. That's not the kind of move you want to see after a gap. Typically when the market gaps up like that, it's an event that will drive the market at least to retest the old highs and probably make a new high. Well, we're not doing either of those. Market's actually on its lows right now, and the 10-year is poking around into the gap that it left. I think we just made a new low by half a tick in the 10-year. The bonds haven't gotten back towards their lows. The low last night in the bond was 05. It's trading, what, 12.13 right now. Trading this range now for the 9th day in the bonds. We've been between, what was the range, guys? 132.22 to 133.29. I can't remember sitting in a range of that size for this kind of time frame for quite a long time, and the volume is indicative of that. Only 562,000 10-years and only 144,000 bonds. Those are about half normal volumes. Okay, what are we going to do? Keep trading the range? Tomorrow's the 3-year auction. There is a small buyback tomorrow. I think we have one bit of data, some kind of small business confidence index, and the government follies continue, and the markets continue to be very complacent as to the government follies. Is that complacency misdirected? I don't know yet. Maybe the markets are right. Nothing big's going to happen. The knuckleheads in Washington will come with some last-minute, deal that averts the debt default and does nothing to stop the rampant debts formation and deficit spending that we're going through these days. If you guys did not see it last night, take a look at the Sunday night 60 Minutes broadcast on the Social Security Disability Program, and see what happens when the government tries to take over, a function that had been relegated, I think, to, charities and churches and things like that before. I'm not saying there isn't a place for the government, but it should be a lot smaller than it is. And with what's coming down the pipe here, where basically the U.S. government is going to take over pretty much the healthcare insurance industry in this country, I don't see anything good happening. I wish I was some kind of a Medicare scam artist or Medicaid scam artist. I don't even know what they call those people, but crooks. I wish I was some kind of a crook, because there's going to be probably tons of opportunities for those crooks to steal more money from the U.S. taxpayer. And the taxpayer, like myself, we're powerless, I think, at this point. We vote for these guys hoping they'll go there and change things. How many times have you heard that? Change and hope. And nothing ever changes, unfortunately. The corporates that are the big contributors to these politicians, they're the guys that run the show. And until there's term limits and campaign finance reform, things just are going to continue to get worse and worse and worse until they can't get worse anymore. I'm sorry, rant time. I shouldn't do these. I'm sorry. Overnight, I gotta imagine we're going to try and fill some of these gaps we left last night. There's certainly not breakaway gaps of any type at this point, and I'm afraid they could be a sign of an exhaustion type gap. You remember the old pattern, how gaps work. Typically in a move, there's 3 gaps as a market goes in a trend. Let me see if I remember the names first. Breakaway gap, pattern gap, exhaustion gap. There's a lot of gaps on the way up, more than I could tell you, more than 3 that I just shouted out. But as you get towards a big rally like we've seen, bonds are what, 5 handles off their lows. Market's a little bit overbought. Maybe this sideways for 9 days has relieved a lot of that overboughtness. I wish I could have seen the commitment of traders data. Get back to work, government. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.